Holy cow. Holy cow. Welcome all. This is 372 pages. We'll never get back. I am Mike Nelson, and with me, of course, is...
Connor Listoka. We're just a couple of sluts talking about a bad book here.
Yeah, we shined our orbs, put our ovals on the pages, and man, oh man. Connor, I'm almost at a loss for words because I finished up doing my prep for it last night and early this morning, although I'd done it all week. But that meant that the last chapter, I mean, is still fresh and ringing in my brain. It is amazing. I am stunned.
Right, and the last chapter itself is a work of art. Obviously, it's right up there with the final scene of The Godfather, or sort of the end of the journey of Lost. Those type of iconic, wrapping up of the great series. But the fact that it was lost for so long is a story in itself. The fact that for so long they didn't know how this journey ended, and then it was eventually revealed. And I think
when you turned the page of the of the audio, or the what is it called, the Journal of Science Fiction Journal of the Ozarks,
Science Fiction Association Journal.
Yeah.
It was.
Man. Yeah, this is we're obviously still we're still stunned by it, but we should explain what this is. This 372 pages we'll never get back is the podcast where we sort of take on works of fiction. We started with Ernest Cline. We are now going through The Eye of Argon by Jim Tice, written in 1970 when he was 16 years old. And so we're just working our way through it. And in the last episode, obviously, we did the first half of the book. It's a very short book. And this episode, we're going to do the second half. So let's dive in. We have lots of good stuff. I went back, Connor, to my friends who did the audiobook recording of it.
Oh,
and so they leaked me another scene, which is very thrilling. So that's coming up. And then we, of course, have the dumb sentence of the week.
Yeah, we forgot it last week. People were upset about that, but we'll share our nominees from last week, and we'll share the winners from this week as well.
And then we have some mail as well, right?
Yeah. We got a lot of there's been a lot of feedback about this, and so people have been wanting to share their thoughts, and we got some really good ones.
Have we just in advance of it, share it? Have we gotten a lot of stuff wrong? Or have we been corrected much?
I don't think so. No,
okay.
I don't think this is like the same sort of thing where it's like, you guys should really watch The Last Starfighter, like that type of wrong opinion. I think it's it's been more of sympathy, my wife left me type of things for reading this book to her. But it's people seem to be really enjoying the ride, I think.
Oh, that's great. Well, let's dive in, and we'll get to all those the departments that we mentioned. We'll get to those in a little bit. I just want to say off the bat, this was exhausting because he went bananas with the made-up words. I could not keep up. Were you diving to the dictionary on this one? I was constantly.
Yeah, and the Kindle has a built-in dictionary, so you can highlight the words. But then there's so many where it just either is they're arcane or they're misspelled, so it doesn't have any sense of that. So yeah, there's just countless things throughout this where it appears to be completely made up or misspelled, and where a lot of them didn't have a dictionary result when you Googled them, but the first result was The Eye of Argon.
Yes. So yeah, but that's what I mean, like, because it would be misspelled a couple times, like if he used it over, and so you're trying to figure out, does he mean this? But apparently he doesn't. And anyway, I just got exhausted doing that. But otherwise, it was a riot. So let's dive in with this is chapter 5, right?
Yeah, chapter 5 sort of takes place away from our hero Grignr, and it's the evil Shamen, the plural of shaman,
right?
who are got a wench tied up to their hand-hewn altar, and they're about to conduct some nefarious deeds. And we later learn that these are the acolytes of Argon, who are a weird sect. But we'll get into that later. It's a splinter cell.
Can one be both an acolyte and a shaman? I'm just like, I'm trying to puzzle that out. I don't know how that works, but
well, it's getting ahead of it. But we learned that the main religion in town is worshiping a guy named Sargon.
Yeah.
So these guys, broke off. I guess it's a what's the two things in Lord of the Rings? the two things that sound exactly alike.
Sauron and Saruman.
Right.
Yes.
So it's possible they were just confused when they decided to worship Argon, like they left out the letter and ended up in front of this jade deity. But we'll get to that. Anyway, so yeah, the priests are attacking this wench, or about to, and Tice has a lot of descriptions of these priests, and none of them are particularly flattering. It starts off with the priest ordering the wench up to the altar and be done with it, wench, ordered a fidgeting shaman as he gave the female a grim stare accompanied by the wrinkling of his lips to a mirthful grin of delight. And there are many times here where he's describing a sort of facial expression combo that is impossible for any living person to pull off. It's the equivalent of like rubbing your head and patting your stomach at the same time. He's got his grim stare, but he's wrinkling his lips in a mirthful grin.
Yeah, people are grotesque. I mean, even the people who are supposed to be sort of attractive, like I think our hero Grignr is, he's supposed to be like a bronzed god with, flaming red hair and everything. But he's always, when he makes a face, it's always accompanied by something else, as his, lips curled over his giant teeth. Like, just let it go. He lards it up to the point where this is grotesquerie. Everyone you describe is grotesque.
Yeah, and you mentioned his lips as well. That was the most delightful part of this chapter 5. Chapter 5 was 11 paragraphs long, and it has 5 mentions of the shaman's lips throughout those 5 paragraphs.
And often, let me read. This is one of those descriptions, which transformed his slovenly grin into a wide, greasy arc of sadistic mirth, and alternately interposed into the female a strong sensation of stomach-curdling nausea. I just made a note here. Like, people are very, very oily in this world.
Yes.
They're always greasy or oily, or there's globules.
Gracie at one point in time,
yes,
they were.
Gracie.
Yes. There's lots of times where you just imagine the guy sort of reading this description afterwards and be like, oh, come on, I didn't come off like that. Like,
that greasy?
My complexion was bad in middle school, but like it's cleared up at this point in time.
It is hot. It is hot down in that chamber, okay? So there's a little sweat on my upper lip. I wouldn't call it greasy.
There was a really great book that is it's sort of similar to what we do here, but it's by Ryan North, who does the dinosaur comic. He's an interesting guy, but he found an old copy of the Back to the Future novelization that you get from the Scholastic Book Club, and he sort of went by page and riffed it like in a prose style. And something that he took away from that is every time they described the principal, who's played by the bald guy from Top Gun in the movie. The author of this novelization was frequently focused on his lips as well. So it's maybe just something that hack authors dial into unknowingly because it's grotesque to keep thinking about someone's lips. But I was tickled by that.
Yeah, a fascination with lips, but also people projecting ape-like arms happened a few times. What the hell does that look like? Projecting your ape-like arms and then his, I think, hairy fists or something.
Yeah.
These priests.
But yeah, so these guys are about to harass this woman, and so she's not too excited about that because she bursts into a slow, steady whimper, stupidly shakily to her knees and cringing woefully. And I thought this was a good time. I mean, this is not a new thing for this back half, but I thought it was a good time to maybe bring up the most famous critic of adverbs, which would be Stephen King. He in his book On Writing, he sort of has a little tirade about that, which I would like to read. It's from a chapter called "The Adverb Is Not Your Friend," and so I think he would probably be delighted by Tice's style. But he says, with adverbs, the writer usually tells us he or she is afraid he or she isn't expressing themselves clearly, that he or she is not getting the point or the picture across. Consider the sentence, he closed the door firmly. It's by no means terrible, but ask yourself if firmly really has to be there. Somewhere out there, someone is accusing me of being tiresome and anal retentive. I deny it. I believe the road to hell is paved with adverbs, and I will shout it from the rooftops. To put it another way, they're like dandelions. If you have one, excuse me, if you have one on your lawn, it looks pretty and unique. If you fail to root it out, however, you'll have 5 the next day, 50 the day after that, and then my brothers and sisters, your lawn is totally, completely, and proficulately covered with dandelions, and you'll see them for the weeds they really are. So yeah,
wow.
Tice's work is littered with dandelion adverbs.
Well, consider this sentence in the light of what you just read. The vile stench of the shaman's hot, fetid breath overcame the nauseated female with a deep, soul-searing sickness, causing her to wrench her head backwards and regurgitate a slimy orange-white stream of swelling gore over the richly woven purple robe of the enthused acolyte. Good Lord. I just want to collapse on the floor after reading that.
Right, exactly. I thought that might be the one thing that Tice was sort of writing about from a first-hand experience.
The hot, fetid breath? Or
just the leaning in for a kiss and the reaction of your prom date or something.
An orange-white stream. I don't know how I don't know. He doesn't hyphenate to make it. Not that the hyphen would do much, but an orange-white stream. I don't know.
Right.
If that doesn't help, but anyway.
Well, I'm certain that it made her complexion all the more alluring, as was described in the previous section of the book, where she looked like Janice the Muppet.
Did her nose remained opaque? I'm sure.
Yes. Also, when the shaman's lips, another passage about them, they curled back further, exposing a set of blackened, decaying molars. Like, how far were his lips curling back in this situation? Like, did he have like a dental like extruder that you have for surgery, just like pulling the whole thing? Like, it's hard to even imagine your back teeth being exposed as you grin.
Another sentence from that. And I'm saving a bunch of these. I marked pretty much every sentence of this chapter as the dumb sentence of the week. So
nice.
I'll ruin one more, and then the rest of them are up for. The pathetic screeches of the shaman groveling in dejected misery upon the hand-hewn granite-laid pavement, worn smooth by countless hours of arduous sweat and toil, a welter of ichor oozing through his clenched hands attracted the perturbed attention of his comrades from their fetid ululations. Huh?
Yep.
My God.
It's got a lot going. So he's groveling in dejected misery, and he takes the time to point out that the granite pavement is hand-hewn.
Fetid ululations.
Yeah.
He misspelled ululation. I assume it's ululations. It says ulations, but I don't think that's a word. Is it?
No, it's not. I looked that one up specifically because I wasn't sure. Because I was like, I wonder what they were doing if they themselves considered that fetid ulations. If they were like over there being like fetid ulations, like you're playing Uno.
Plus, these are our prayers, sir. So let's.
Right. There's nothing that leads you to believe that the god the king is worshiping is more kind or grotesque than Argon is, based on the way the society has shaken down. Yeah. But right before that, the reason that he's pathetically screeching was one of my favorite parts, because it's because the victim has cocked her right foot backwards. She leashed it desperately outwards with the strength of a demon possessed, lodging her sandaled foot squarely between the shaman's testicles.
Yes.
So this is it might be hard for half of our audience to really picture what this is, but squarely between is like the most pinpoint precision aim. Like you're really splitting hairs to land something between,
so to speak. I mean,
yes, between that area. Like it's a.
I was picturing at that moment, because I picked up on that too. I was picturing maybe Mr. Belvedere style,
right? I guess so.
Able to sit on his own balls. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I suppose if you've got the sort of division and stuff you see in a pair of truck nuts, that sort of thing, like going and cartoonishly separated from the thing from your body, but. It was a very, very precise aim on her part, so I was happy about that. But then, how does he react to this precision blow? The startled priest released his crushing grip, and I don't know if anyone's ever taken a direct shot to the crotch before, but the startled is not the word I would choose for that. Like
what?
Startled.
What in the world?
a truck backfires as you're going for a run or something. God, whoa! It's not the crushing pain. And then, so the way he continues to respond is his face flushed to a rose-red shade of crimson, eyelids fluttering wide, with eyeballs protruding blindly outwards from their sockets to their outmost perimeters, while his lips, So to me, it sounded like the horny cartoon wolf, who's like awooga as it happens. But then it continues to build. His hands reached out, clutching his urinary gland, as his knees wobbled rapidly about for a few seconds, then buckled, causing the ruptured Shamen to collapse in an egg-huddled mass to the granite pavement. And the passage, his urinary gland, was the one thing that I texted you on like Sunday night. That was what I couldn't believe what I was.
Yeah, we want experts in the human form to tell us, is it a urinary gland? Is that a...
Yeah, not a term I had really used before. Certainly not something you'd ever use in a, dirty talk type of thing. Like, come here, baby. Let me precisely land my foot squarely between your testicles.
Oh, man, there's too much, and we got to keep going. But the last sentence of the chapter, did that stick out to you in any way?
Yes.
And why don't you give that a read?
So I just have the last part of it highlighted, but it's sort of, she's passing out. Is that what we're talking about? I think this is the last passage.
Her confused head.
Okay, you go ahead.
Her confused head reeled, then clouded in a mist of enshrouding ebony as she lapsed beneath the protective sheet of unconsciousness to a land, peach, and resign.
Yes.
What in the world is happening here?
That's one where you can't even tell where. I mean, to a land, peace and resign.
To a land of peace and resign.
Yeah, sure.
To a land, peach and resign, which was a great '70s duo that did like a groove hit. Peach and resign. Yeah.
Yeah, resign left to go on to a prog rock band and. Oh man,
that chapter is exhausting. It took me like a day to read it. Like I couldn't, because you kept, the shuddering from the clammy touch of the Shamen. Like, is clammy? What is that? Like, obviously clammy, but it's not obvious because of what, the other things that he summons out of nowhere.
Yeah, like this one. The actions of this rebellious wench bespoke the credence of an unheard of sacrilege. And that would just seem like, flip through the thesaurus and finger down. That's the word I'm going to use. I didn't understand what bespoke the credence was supposed to indicate to me.
I don't think that he knows either. But so we come
John Fogerty getting a suit tailored, maybe? I don't know.
We come out of chapter 5 and we're right into chapter 6, which is is massively, it's longest by far, right?
Yeah.
In the by far longest.
I kept turning the page, being like, the pacing was not something that he was familiar with. I mean, later on too, the chapters or half chapters even are very brief, to the point, and then he'll do something like this, which is like more closer to like what a real book would be like, I suppose. But it's like he was doing a Jack Kerouac thing where he took a bunch of uppers. It was like, I'm banging this one out all night. Like I'm not. And then the other ones are just so self-contained, like a little short story. So I'm not sure what the intent was there.
Yeah, I don't know. He caffeined up or something, had a bunch of coffee, and wrote this chapter, and it goes on and on. But it is interspersed with these delightful drawings. And again, this being a podcast, I don't know how to handle this other than to say, for the love of God, get the PDF of it and look at these things. What is the thing, the creature with the monobrow going, ick? Do you know what that is?
So, I mean, I don't know why they're in there. I did learn the identity of the author, and it doesn't seem that's related to the thing, but the identity of the author is someone who's revealed at the end of the book.
You mean the
Of the illustrator.
The illustrator, yeah.
Yeah, J.T. Rikosh, who had written a poem, I guess, that was in the same Ozark Sci-Fi Association journal called iycks or something like that. Like, not also not even, that's not even like a Mad Magazine, like, kablurk type of thing. Like that's something that no one has ever said. No one, yuck, ick. I guess it's a combo of those two.
Yeah, but it's capital IYCK.
Yes.
With 2 exclamation points. And then there's a sort of, I don't know, almost Seussian kind of rabbit dog thing drawn. I don't know how to describe it.
But yeah, it appears unrelated to the actual content of this. I don't know if he just submitted illustrations to the Ozark Journal and they were just like, yeah, we'll put these in somewhere. But then again, that one of the king in the previous chapter who was like smoking the blunt, I don't know, that seemed like it kind of related. So,
and I think he was just... in the couple pages down, I think the woman in the thong is supposed to be the woman at the altar.
Huh.
I assume.
Yeah, yeah. The one who's like, she's sort of like throwing up the horns or giving a shaka or something. Like, what is she?
In the photo, in the illustration, it's a distorted illustration. It's hard to make out, but it looks like her arm is kind of twisted behind her back and it's chained to something. So I assume she's at the altar. She is topless and is wearing sort of a thong dress thing.
Okay.
And then there's, I don't know, you can't make out the rest of it. The floor is sort of like tiling, but it's all distorted in a way. Anyway, look it up. This does not make for good podcasting.
No, but it's an important part of the whole experience. It's like, it's like watching The Room in the theater. You sort of need to know what people are, what it was like the first time to actually see it. But so the chapter opens with immediately a man being called a slut, which is fantastic. And that man we come to learn is wearing a G-string. I guess I don't think that was explicitly stated in the. He was wearing a loincloth earlier, but
Grignr is wearing a G-string.
So you get very he's in his cell. He's been he just finished killing the rat, but the soldiers have come to get them, and you get these sort of lengthy George R.R. Martin descriptions of what the soldiers are wearing.
Oh my God, that is. Could you picture that at all?
No, I couldn't picture it. It was like it was more coherent. Like it's just sort of describing in sort of the way you describe your D&D character, I guess. But no mental image was popping up. But it seemed like he sort of lapsed into that, and there weren't really like typos or anything like that. So it was maybe what he's best at.
Well, I guess I think only if you really are steeped in fantasy literature would you have any idea what he's talking about. But before we get to that, just real quick, he says the first line of it, or the first thing is like they're hauling him out of his pit of misery, whatever they're calling it. And they say, "Climb out from your pit, slut. Your presence is requested in another far deeper hellhole." And I thought, man, that is such an insult to have to climb up and out of your pit to go into a far deeper one.
Right.
Can't you just can we go down from here to it? Nope. You got to go up first and then we're going down.
Yeah, exactly. You're in a heck hole. That's a different
whole different place. Yeah, we got to go down this hallway here, and then you'll see once we get there. You'll get it.
Yeah, we added on the hell holes after we built. There were an addition, so there's no real. By virtue of the code, we had to extend them a bit further out, so there's no connection.
Anyway, slut.
Yeah. So as he climbs out, this was very subtle. This is a 16-year-old boy. You're going through a lot of hormones and everything like that. So there was, I think, some subtle subtext going on as he climbed out. See if you can pick up on it. His swelled limbs, stiff due to the boredom of timeless inactivity, compounded by the musty atmosphere and jagged granite protuberant against his body, craved for action. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I just... it's been a long time since I was 16, but I'm just picking up on something.
Oh, jagged granite protuberant, huh, baby?
Yeah. Protuberance is kept coming up in this one. I was happy about that.
Yep.
But yet, the sentry's up there. He's holding a crescent cuppix, which I guess that's his torch.
Yes, that's a real word, I guess. But that
crescent is?
No,
Cuppix?
Cuppix is.
Sure.
I mean, it's not, it's only been seen, I assume, in whatever single piece of fantasy literature this kid was reading. And never, ever again has been printed in English.
Right.
Or spoken.
We got a good theory about that later in the mail section, so we can fill everybody in there.
Oh, good. All right.
Yeah.
But this begins the puzzling word hunt that I had to go on, because before that, in that, the musty, I don't know if you read it correctly. Atmoisture?
Atmoisture. Yeah, my eyes fixed it for me.
Yeah. What is that? Do you have
atmoisture?
Atmoisture?
Musty atmosphere, I guess.
No, but it's Atmosture. Atmosphere, which is not a word.
Okay.
Then he throws Cuppix at me, and now I'm slightly irritated. And then here's a piece of action. What is happening here? He recoiled short of his intentions as Grignr's right arm, one word, swept to his gorge.
Yeah.
What is that? What does that mean?
My note was not sure what that means, but it clearly sounds dirty.
His gorge? Is the gorge, as far as I understand it, is the undigested food in your stomach, right?
Oh, I gorged myself, sure.
My gorge rises. But it seems that he's cutting his neck then later. So I just don't understand what's happening there.
No, it's you're when he starts using fantasy words to describe actions that we could all be familiar with. If he just said what the body part was, we would be much less confused. And this happens a lot, where you're just like when he finds that trap door coming up. That was another one that I was just absolutely had no idea what I was supposed to be envisioning.
That was
after he swipes his gorge, his bobbing eyes rolled beneath fluttering eyelids. So
and then
his
the
eyes
deep
are bobbing,
welt,
rolling, and fluttering.
Yeah, and a welt across his spouting gullet. That's not what a welt is. A welt, we all know what a welt is.
A welt is, I got stung by a bee, and it sort of like raised up a slight welt.
But thus the end of Broig. He gets a name that made me laugh so hard. Be sure to make that not a stout one, Broig. We wouldn't want our guest to take leave of our guidance. Again, Not sure what that means. But anyway, we get a name, and it's poor Broig. I mean, he had a wife, and
exactly.
She had a translucent nose, but otherwise she was pretty.
On the Eye of Argon wiki, he's fleshed out for pages and pages his backstory, and
of course,
just like you would like Yaddle on the Star Wars wiki, you've got all sorts of theories and non-canonical comics that are sort of he's the star of, surprisingly.
But right after that, we find out what he's using, because remember, he seeded this before, and I said I was excited to hear what was going to happen. And this is one of my favorite phrases ever. Just imagine if you gave this phrase to someone and said, guess what this is about.
Yeah.
The tediously honed pelvis bone of the broken rodent. I mean, that just sounds like one of those horse books tweets or whatever.
Right.
What does this mean?
Right. Yeah. And so, I thought that was more nice and subtle thing. He had been concealing it beneath his loincloth. So he's stabbing guys in the gorge with a pelvis bone that he's tediously honed, that he keeps in his G-string. So that's, again, very just tediously honing it, guys. Mom, come on, knock. But the thing that made me laugh right before that is right before he conceals the thing, after he's killed these guys with the rodent pelvis bone. He snorts a gusty billow of mirth, which I think he had briefly transformed into Ignatius J. Riley there. I thought that was pretty awesome. To speak of another author who was not appreciated in his own time.
Yes. Oh, man, I just picture him just furiously typing this. I can't, it comes at you it's so intense.
Yeah.
This was a puzzling phrase. Knowing where his steps were leading to, Grignr meandered aimlessly in search of an exit from the chateau's dim confines. Again, he's going to the thesaurus for, what's another word for like a palace, or I don't think he's in a chateau.
Chateau, yes. There's a vineyard out front.
But how can you know where your steps are leading to and then meander aimlessly and then be in search of an exit? Like, he's not. You cannot imagine this.
I guess that's like, if you're a kid who's been sent to the principal's office, like your final fate, so you do a Billy from Family Circus to try to get there.
Another new word comes up right after that. Aquested. That's not a word.
Okay. Yes, if aquested as to the purpose of his presence, his barbarous accent would reveal his identity, being that his attire was not that of the castle's mercenary troops. And I thought he just put on the outfit he stole to blend in, sort of Wizard of Oz style. So I'm not sure what he's worried that if he was aquested, his accent would reveal it. But then it says he's wearing an outfit that is not of the castle's mercenary troops. So he put on a different troops outfit, which why bother in the first place if you're going to be revealed that quickly?
Well, I mean, he knew where his steps were leading, but he was meandering aimlessly. So clearly, come on, this is clear.
And then there is a very interesting sort of tense change coming up, halting before the teeming portal. Grignr rests his shaggy head sideways against the barrier. So it's like it's in the present second person almost.
Yeah, I noticed that too.
I guess that could just be a typo of rested because it's R-E-S-T-E-S, his shaggy head. But that's I think there's another time that happens during this. So it's sort of he steps back and is observing his own creation.
Yeah. Well, then comes right after that sentence comes the very confusing word, and I can't even say it. I'll spell it out. A-P-I-E-S-E-D. Apiced grunt. And this is the one that he uses again. So I went to the dictionary. It is obviously not a word. And but how do you use a word or misspell a word twice? Or how do you make up a word? Is he just really trying to Edgar Allan Poe this shit? And just I'm making up the word apaced or apiced.
Lewis Carroll nonsense poem.
But it doesn't, even in context, you cannot tell what that means. No. He had an apiced grunt. And then shortly after that, the word apple-levered.
Wow.
Which is also not a word. I mean, it's just, I don't know what he's doing here. I just picture him like his eyes bulging to the very outward, whatever.
Right. Or they've glazed over and he's sort of in a fugue state, just typing. Right. They're like rolled back in his head and you can only see the whites. He was just channeling his own language.
Yeah. Well, that's pretty baller, I guess. I mean,
but yeah, so he's like he discovers this room through one of these things, and he sees that miscellaneous articles required for the maintenance of a castle were piled in disorganized heaps at infrequent intervals. So then utilizing long bounding strides, he paced his way over to the mounds of supplies to discover if any articles of value were contained in their midst. So he sees articles required for maintenance in disorganized heap, and his reaction is to then take long bounding strides. I guess he's unable to contain his excitement at this like storeroom of janitor supplies in the castle.
Yeah, this was a sentence that I almost went to my friends who made the audiobook of this to ask them for this one, because I thought that would be interesting to explore. But the maintenance of a castle were piled. Was that like, where the hell did I put my box of cressets? Because what is the maintenance of a castle? You're just supposed to imagine that, like, boxes that I'm sure it's like there's masking tape on it and it's written, and then crossed out like, no, not cressets. This is earthenware,
Yes. That's where they keep their old USB cables for phones they haven't used in like 8 years. But like, you never know. There's a guy in there with his butt crack showing, hunched over to.
Yep. Man. Seeing him, he bounded towards them. And this is when he starts, the words have been flowing. And now he, like you say, eyes rolling back in the head, elm woven. Do you have any idea what that means?
I didn't pick up on that one.
Spraud. I assume that's a misspelling, but given that he's just, the word elm woven is in here, maybe Spraud. Right. And
Spraud to his left side.
Mirific is repeated constantly in this. But then.
Yeah, that's like a curse. It's his god, I guess.
Expugnissively. Yawkishly.
Wow.
What is happening? I think he's going. Amorphous later, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway.
But yeah, so he springs this trap, which essentially it sounds like it's like a Sideshow Bob rake springing up, like
with
like spikes on it, I guess.
Right. Yeah. I could not picture it until he sort of explains the action, which is impenetrable, and then he kind of back explains, oh, I suppose you're wondering what all that garbage was.
In like 6 paragraphs, he goes beneath it and sort of more describes it again, which is a very interesting choice.
The arm of the device was 4 feet long, boasting razor-like cleats at regular intervals along its face, with which it was to skewer the luckless body of its would-be victim.
Right.
So it's a 4-foot-long thing, and it has cleats, which I mean, like shoe cleats that are razor sharp,
right?
And they spring up, I guess.
And this is to guard the room of maintenance supplies,
right?
In case someone like needs to steal a new sponge head because they have one at home that they've been meaning to replace, but they know there's a whole box of them in the office closet.
Jerry, I see you taking the tape. Just replace it. It's fine. Bring one home, but come on.
I'm not going to write you up because that just triggers a whole thing for both of us. But come on, man.
I'm going to have to. You know what? I am. I'm going to put a razor-like cleat at regular intervals to protect this. I'm sick of this.
It says, if not for his keen auditory organs and lightning-steeled reflexes, Grignr would have been groping through the shadowed hell pits of the Grim Reaper. And that's great. But I just appreciated knowing that the Grim Reaper is part of this mythos.
Yes.
That in this culture, they have sort of the guy with the hood and the scythe, and that's a shared bit of our culture. It makes me relate to them better.
Right. So now the arm springs up, and then that reveals another. Does that reveal something in the floor? I could not figure out what he kept describing how it came through the floor, and so then he kind of goes through the floor.
Yeah, I guess they said there's like a floor 7 feet below, so it's not a very big room, but like there's another, just as a tunnel beneath it, directly beneath it. It was not his strong suit here.
And through that, he hears that's when his hair prickled yawkishly in disorganized clumps along his scalp. After hearing that. And then, once again, oily people, a pack of gracie-faced shaman clustered around her in tight circular formation.
But yeah, but also when he's down there, there's another word, but he's observing the tombs and stuff. The tombs had now grown dingy through the passage of the rays of all-encompassing Mother Time. I like to think that guys named Alan refer to things as, their whole worldview is all-encompassing.
Oh, man. And then when he stoops over to espy the tomb's contents, the glittering accordion's nostrils, 2 L's, were singed by the scorching aroma of a moldering corpse, which he had smelled that smell before. Shriveled,
lots of corpses moldering.
Yeah, even though they were embalmed. He goes to lengths to say how stinky it is, but then goes, look, they were embalmed, but it was still pretty stinky.
It was decaying, it was just like decaying at a slower rate. So like he doesn't want to insult the embalmer's ability.
And then the shriveled, leathery packet of crumbled bones and dried flacking flesh? What is flacking flesh?
Matt.
It offered no resistance, by the way. The dried sack of flacking flesh.
This is where he sees the acolyte who's holding his in his clenched right hand was a carven over-faced mallet, which he waved menacingly over the girl's shadowed face. I assume this is the more easily gripped mallet that was referenced in the previous section.
Oh, wasn't that a cup?
Oh, really?
I think it was a cup with it was perforated in the middle or something.
Well, look, he's going back to the same ergonomic guy here. And then he has incoherent gibberish flowing through his grinning, thick-lipped mouth. So, bringing it home. I was hoping to hear what his lips were going to sound like in this situation. But then you have this was a delightful thing, I thought. In the face of the amorphous, broad-breeded female, stretched out alluringly, of course, before his gaping eyes, the universal whim of nature filing a plea of despair inside of his hot white soul, Grignr acted in the only manner he could perceive. And so what do you think that's going to be? Is he going to go start a petition, like a rap battle? Maybe he'll bring out his loom and do a weaving or something.
Let me think about what his wilderness-bred people would normally do on their climbs. Yeah.
Yes. Well, he gives vent to a hoarse, throat-rending battle cry for the 8th time in this 10,000-word book.
Oh, and then one of my favorite things ever: the gaunt, skull-faced priest writhed agonizingly against the hideous image, foam flecking his chalk-white lips. The priest struggled helplessly. I think it's an N dash and not an M dash, but there are 3 of them before we get to the cause of all of this flecking chalk-white lip. The victim of an epileptic seizure.
Yes.
That was, I'm glad I wasn't just taking a long sip of a hot broth or something, which I would then have to spray all over my kitchen.
Yeah, so that boggled my mind, because I had to go back and see, was there anything that, traditionally triggers that? Like Grignr didn't, flash lights. He didn't put on a Pokemon cartoon. Nope. No one had checked this guy's medical records before they hired him, and he just was hit with his sudden epileptic seizure. I mean, sure, it's a cliche, but to have it happen here, I imagine just him doing the faking a heart attack, like people do in court when they're trying to get out of a sentencing type of thing.
Yeah, well, we can laugh, and I did laugh. I laughed long and hard at this, but Jim Tice has outsmarted us, and this might come back to haunt us, this little moment, but we'll see.
But yeah, so they were startled by the barbarian's stunning appearance, of course, and by the chronic fit of their fellow, and by the fear that Grignr might be the avant-garde of a conquering force dedicated to the cause of destroying their degenerated cult. I've been there. So
is that their self-description? Guys, I'm really worried. Our degenerated cult. I mean, it's going great, but that guy out there, he's staring in, and I'm worried that he's the avant-garde. What do you guys think?
Yes. Right, after the moment, they all die, but if they had survived, they'd be toweling off in the locker room and be like, "Hey, this is a weird question, but when that finely thewed barbarian burst through the door, did anyone else fear that he might be the avant-garde of a conquering force?" And they all dedicated to the cause of destroying the degenerate. Yes, I was thinking the exact same thing.
Oh, this sentence I have to read. The entire chamber was encompassed. This is after he butchers all of the guys, except the chalk white lipped seizure victim.
Sure.
The entire chamber was encompassed in the heat of raw, savage butchery, as Grignr luxuriated in the grips of a primitive, beastly bloodlust. So I just pictured, those catalogs for spas where there's a woman getting hot stones put on her back, and then there's another one doing a yoga pose out in the sunset or whatever.
She's holding a big mug of latte with both hands and sort of looking out the window.
Legs crossed up on a huge wicker chair. And then there's Grignr luxuriating in the heat of raw savage butchery.
Yes.
Does it get any better than this, guys?
The blood and entrails spiraling in a pool at his feet.
Oh, that was fantastic. It made me wonder, where did he even come up with luxuriated in? I guess that's the thesaurus, but I can't imagine what the word he was looking for.
Right, yeah. The mind boggles, but like I said, there's someone has a big theory that they put into action at the end of this that's going to explain maybe where some of this stuff comes from. But so after that, he sort of takes notice of the statue of Argon, who these guys were worshiping, which is just I guess just incredibly gigantic jade statue. So he's impressed by the sheer heft of it. But then he looks at the eye, which is a red jewel, and he decides that that's what he's going to take. And then the phrasing of this I thought was great, because it says, "After all, a man cannot slink from a heavily guarded palace while burdened down by the intense bulk of a squatting statue, providing, of course, that the idol can even be hefted, which in fact was beyond the reaches of Grignr's coursing stamina. And the way it was started off with "after all" made me think that this was like, Tice sort of like a familiar moral. Like, after all, he who does not prepare for winter will be forced to
Yeah, but in the end, come on,
yes.
You can't fit a huge idol in your leather sack at your side. We all, as is often said.
Yes, exactly. A tale as old as time. We cannot slink from a heavily guarded palace while burdened down by the intense bulk of a squatting statue. Good night, kids.
So he considers that. He, of course, rejects it to pull out the Eye of Argon. That's I think the only two in the whole book, but I could be wrong. But then, so he's taking the jewel, and then his attention is drawn away from the Eye of Argon by something else. And this, I want to bring this up. This is the scene that I got from my friends.
Oh, wow.
Yes, they told me I could leak this scene, so wow. I'm going to. This is when he meets the woman. It's pretty self-explanatory, but let me just, the sentence that sort of, I couldn't figure out how they would handle this, and so I asked them how they did, because it's a weird sentence. It's, Grignr merely voiced and sighed grunt, returning the damsel's embrace while he smothered her trim, delicate lips between the coursing protrusions of his reeking maw.
Good Lord.
And that is hard to picture, so I went to them and asked how they handled it, and
sure.
Let's just take a listen.
Grignr faced the female that had lured him into this bloodbath, but whom had become all but forgotten in the heat of the battle.
Help me! Please! I can make it worth your while.
You? I thought that I had seen the last of you at the tavern, but verily, I was mistaken. As Grignr lifted the girl from the altar, her arms wound dexterously around his neck, soft and smooth against his harsh exterior.
Art thou pleased that we have chanced to meet once again?
Grignr merely voiced a sighed grunt, returning the damsel's embrace while he smothered her trim, delicate lips between the coursing protrusions of his reeking maw.
Oh. Ew! Why doth thy maw reek so much?
What? It does?
Yeah, seriously, it's the worst maw I have ever smelled. And why is it coursing?
You don't like the coursing? I can tone that down. There.
Yeah, I mean, that's better, but still, that reek, Wait, I recognize that smell. Have you been eating gargantuan brown-hided rat?
What? No. I eat mostly lean proteins, a lot of boneless, skinless chicken breast and whey protein. All my wilderness-bred people do.
Oh, okay, but that maw sure reeks like gargantuan brown-hided rat. Wait, what's that in your hand?
Oh, what? This?
Is that? Oh, it is! That's the meticulously sharpened pelvis bone of a gargantuan brown-hided rat.
All right, fine. I ate a little rat, okay? I mean, I was in that dismal pit for like 2 days, or possibly 10 years. It was really hard to tell. Can't you forgive a guy for snacking a little while rendering its sticky hulk?
Well, hey, do what you want. Just keep that reeking maw as far away as possible. In fact, I'm going to dexterously unwind my soft, smooth arms from around your harsh exterior.
No, but what if I made my maw coarse again?
No, that is not a feature. Don't ever coarse your maw.
Okay, like coarse.
In fact, take your thewy brown hide over there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, I mean... Yeah.
Who says romance is dead?
Yes. Wow, he smothered her trim, delicate lips. Like, fully, just his whole reeking maw over the top of her. So you can see her reaction there was...
right.
Yeah.
Well, even before that happened, he's sort of like, he's eyeing the Eye of Argon, he's stolen all these guys, and then he sort of hears this, help me please, I can make it worth your while. And it's like, oh, right. You have been here the whole time.
Right.
Sorry about that. I was just luxuriating in my bloodlust. And she's described as the female that had lured him into the bloodbath. Did she lure him? Did she? Was she like beckoning down there? And
I guess her shrieking cries or whatever. He described them variously as different kinds of screams, but
yeah, it turns out she's the same wench he had banged in the tavern, the Janice the Muppet Woman, which is credit where it's due. Not a twist I saw coming. I thought we had left her behind.
That's true. I felt like he just couldn't think of another character, so he just went, it's just that girl, I guess. I don't know. But then he has to go to lengths to explain later, which we'll get to, why she's there.
Right, yes. But not before she states something whimsicoracally.
Yep, that's another of the words, along with expugnatively, spraud, and elmwoven that I have on my list.
Right. But he asks her. This is going to be a real deep cut that maybe two people are going to appreciate. But he asks her who she is. Carthena, daughter of Mincardos, Duke of Barwego, whose lands border along the northwestern fringes of Gorzom. And if you've seen the movie Ghost House, you'll no doubt be reminded of the introduction of a character named Jim Dalen, who says, My sister Tina is out there in the RV. My brother's out there too. We're here on vacation. My name's Jim Dalen, or something to that effect. Right. That is how he introduces himself, by saying he's the brother of 3 different people as well as someone's boyfriend. Our trailer's parked out back. I'm Jim Dalen. So we do not need your life story, Carthena. We'll just
Yeah, but that ends with as you pointed out last time, he misuses question marks and exclamation points. He puts them outside her next sentence.
This passage is incredible.
I was paid as homage, I'll say homage, to Agaphim upon his 38th year. Husked the femme! Exclamation point. And I just have a note. Come on, now he's just messing with us.
This is These there are 4 back to back. I don't know what you call said, or exclaimed the person, or shrieked. I don't know what that is. Like, it's some sort of verb, I guess. But he has 4 spectacular ones. Husked the femme.
Yeah.
And I am called a barbarian, grunted Grignr in a disgusted tone. The ways of our civilization are in many ways warped and distorted, but what is your calling? She queried bustily.
Question mark?
And then there's another one, I have heard Agaphim can curse your land, saith she, which is just another very strange context. So those are husked the femme, grunted Grignr in a disgusted tone, queried bustily, and saith she are just he really hit for the cycle there.
Let's be clear about the queried bustily. She queried, comma, bustily, question mark.
So doing anything bustily, especially when she's just been on the verge of being, assaulted by a dozen priests is very, very interesting. But someone wrote in, I'm going to read this now. It's an email, but Janelle wrote in saying that this is so obviously a man writing from the perspective of a woman. And I guess there's a sort of famous passage that circulates online about when a male author tries to write from a woman, and the queried bustily reminded me of that. But it's Cassandra woke up to the rays of sun streaming through the slats on her blinds, cascading over her naked chest. She stretched, her breasts lifting with her arms as she greeted the sun. She rolled out of bed and put on a shirt, her nipples prominently showing through the thin fabric. She breasted boobily to the stairs and titted downwards. So that was nice. Spot on, pretty much what Tice was doing.
Then another word, if you're ready for it. I'll read it in context. I just have it, with 13 exclamation points behind it. They slew the guard placed over me. This is, I'm quoting, what's her name again? Carathon?
Carthena.
They slew
daughter of Mincardos, Duke of Barwego, of whose lands border along the northwestern fringes of Gornum.
All right, Carthena. Yes. You don't need to say it every time. They slew the guard placed over me, and I'll do it bustily if I can. Okay. They slew the guard placed over me and abducted me to the chamber in which you chanced to come upon the Skostk sacrifice. SCOZC. SCOZSCTIC. Skostic sacrifice.
Man.
What is happening?
Imagine the Scrabble value of that one.
Good Lord. I mean, obviously, again, not a word, but what is he doing?
I have no idea. It's, his mom is calling him down to dinner, and he's just, one foot is out the door, but he's like leaning back to his keyboard to bang these things out as he's.
Yeah. Oh, did you mention the other, how he asked something? I don't know. How did you come to be the victim of those crazed shaman? Quested Grignr as he escorted Carthena?
I mean, it's the same. It starts the same. Some of them you got to hand them to. They're kind of clever.
Through the piles of rummage on the left side of the trap.
Does he mean the dead bodies or like?
I think he means the boxes of extension cords and stuff. I think.
But before that, before like the first part of that sentence you just read is he says by some means, this is how she got abducted. By some means, the priests of Argon acquired a set of keys to the cell. By some means, they slew the guard placed over me and abducted me to the chamber. That may have been the means. Slewing the guard is usually the way that you steal the keys to a cell. I'm not sure she just
don't know how that happened. Yeah.
And this is when she reveals that it was that the priests, their days may have been numbered anyways, because if the king or prince, I'm not really sure, had ever discovered their unfaithfulness to Sargon, his bastard deity. So that's where you reveal that this is the first mention of Sargon, but the guys down there were obviously worshiping Argon.
I thought that was a typo again.
I don't think so. I think it's mentioned again. So there's, I guess it's just a schism in the Sargon worshiping. They cut the S off and decided that was the real god. So they're down there worshiping the jade deity.
I see. That's why Agathaphim's pitiless wrath would have been unparalleled. I mean, it would have just been, just unparalleled.
Oh man. So that's delightful. You wonder if the king or prince ever wondered. It's like, man, I wonder where my priests are getting off to. Like, they always like disappear and then they come back and their lips are all thick and gorged, and it's like they're off, like, they're worshiping some new bastard deity.
There's like globules all over their wrinkled, shiny heads. What is happening down there?
Come on, Shaman, be straight with me.
This is one of my favorite passages right at the end of this chapter. This is chapter 6, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's Kleinian. I was very happy to see a Kleinian thing where he speculates about his own characters. Seemingly utilizing the speed of thought, Grignr swiveled to face his unknown foe. Seemingly utilizing the speed of thought. Like, I don't know. I'm at a loss here to see whether he was utilizing the speed. It seems like it, but
since no one could describe to you in 1,000 years what utilizing the speed of thought means, I guess it's, we could all seemingly be using it at any given time.
Yeah, he's right in that thing. Seemingly, we don't know. So that's all I have. That's chapter 6, and my God, that was something.
That was spectacular. It's he does some stuff there, like the passage about him like going down and then repairing the trap or like resetting it is the sort of weird granule of a coherent thought that like in another book there might be. It's like, oh, like, sure, if they come in here and see that this trap is set, they'll know I was here. And so he has the weird notion of what a plot would be, but for the most part, it's just completely thrown away in terms of these absurd descriptions and made-up words and non-existent relationships between people. It's really amazing.
Yeah, that whole picture of that trap was, man, I had to put that together after the fact. And so when he reset it, I think I barely registered that until, of course, it comes back. But,
right, yes, exactly. But yeah, so as you mentioned, first of all, it was sort of like Chekhov's epileptic priest.
Sure.
It was so strange that you have to assume that it was coming back, and it turns out it does at the start of chapter 7.
Yes, indeed. Well, both things come back.
Right.
I didn't have a lot of notes for this. It's a very quick chapter 7 describing this. Why don't you go ahead with yours, because I only really have one.
Yeah, it says, due to his high due to his high susceptibility following the seizure, the priest was transformed into a raving maniac bent solely upon wreaking vengeance, which is I checked, that's a common epilepsy side effect. Is being transformed into a raving maniac bent solely upon wreaking vengeance. So that's accurate. But then he's got lips curled and quivering with a crust of foam dripping from them.
Of course.
And he's there ready to attack our Grignr. Sorry.
Yeah, but before that, here's my note. Above his head rose the hideous idol, its empty socket, holding the shaman's eye-furbished, infuriated gaze. Eye-furbished?
Yes. Eye-furbished.
What does it mean?
Late 90s internet startup for home decor. Like
eye-furbish. Information furbished.
Yeah. Hey, your apartment looks great. Did you furbish it yourself? He turns to the cameras and winks. I guess you could say I furbished it.
Oh man, I that was another one where it's like, don't make me go to if this is a real thing, I'm going to be enraged, and if it's not a real thing, I'm enraged. My eye furbished, infuriated gaze is upon you, Tice.
But yeah, so that was sort of that was a chapter 7, even though chapter 7.5 is a lot longer than chapter 7. But that's all I've got there. Before we move on to chapter 7.5, then let's just thank some of our Patreon supporters.
Yes.
As you may or may not know, this podcast is supported by Patreon. People have been extremely generous in doing that. They have been getting the episodes earlier. So if you ever want to be able to listen to them and then brag to everyone else that you're listening to them, we've been putting them up a couple days early for people who pledge $5 a month and up above. And some of those people who have done it are Alexander George, Jason Pant, Mike Wasson, Anthony Kwiatkowski, probably just screwed that up in a Tysian way, and Victor Lambs. So thanks for all your support, guys.
Yeah, thank you. This has been fun, and to know that at least these people, you can look and say, at least this small group of people is actually paying attention to this madness. Yes. So it keeps us going. Thank you.
But yeah, so you can support that at patreon.com/372 pages. But yeah, chapter 7.5, it opens with Grignr is preparing to parry the blow while gaping wide-eyed in open-mouth perplexity. And at some point in time, I realized, do you ever play Mario 64, the Nintendo 64 Mario? At the very beginning, there's just a sort of polygonal Mario, and you can drag the cursor and like pull his nose or raise his eyebrow. And that's what this reminded me of, is those type of like someone is just doing this to Grignr. So he's gaping wide-eyed, but also open-mouth perplexity. You're just creating these grotesque expressions by pulling his mask around.
Behind the frothing Shamen, which is now singular again. So the proof that he didn't just misspell Shaman.
Oh, okay. Yes. But yeah, so he strikes down the epileptic guy. So I think it said something along the lines of like, this was real. It wasn't the guy faking it. Like, because due to his high susceptibility following the seizure, that's why he was transformed. So it wasn't just like Larry David faking a heart attack. He was actually epileptic, and but came back with solely upon wreaking vengeance. But he's dispatched with very easily.
Yeah, and he had been down long enough after that seizure to the white chalk white foam had crusted over by the time he got up. So
of course,
yes. Long. So that's a fairly long time. I mean, at least half an hour, I think.
Sure. But yeah, so then they sort of are walking through these hallways, and the princess or wench, or I forget her name already, is describing sort of how she ended up there, and like she is talking about the prince, who I thought was the king, but I think they're the same person. I'm not sure what happened there, but she says it is not always in the prince's best interests to leave his chateau in public view. Even while under heavy guard, he is often assaulted by hurtling stones and rotting fruits. So with, 3 pages left in this book, they're starting to provide sort of like a eye into the like political landscape of this kingdom, which is at this point in time, this is we do not need this icing on the cake, Tice.
Yeah, again, I thought it was sort of, it was Kleinian, where the world is pretty, he tries to keep his world simple, but sometimes he has to mention the outside world, where goods and workers are going into the city, and you go, wait, what's going on out there? Like, don't pay attention to that. That's nothing. Don't worry about it.
Yes. But, it's happening often that he's assaulted by hurtling stones and fruit. So that's something he might want to think about. If this is, fool me 8 times by throwing stones and rotten fruits, that's on me. But
yeah. And I just wanted to recommend this to everyone. We can't read all of it, obviously. The dialogue, because there hasn't been much dialogue. There's been grunting and the cry and the cries of his wilderness-bred people, and there's some lines in there like taunts and "Come on, dog, let's fight." But now there's actual dialogue, and it is fantastic. It is so good. Yep. I really commend it to you to read. All of it is great. But
my favorite excerpt from this is one that I'd marked one sentence of it, and then when I reread this to take notes down, I realized that it was like a haiku almost in how bad it is. Grignr is just talking about the prince. It is amazing that they would ever have let a pig like him become their ruler. I should imagine that his people would rise up and crucify him like the dog he is.
Yeah.
So at first I was like, oh, that's weird. Like, crucify him like a dog. Is that happening a lot in this kingdom? And then I realized that he describes him as a pig the sentence before, and then he's a dog in the next sentence, which was just truly spectacular.
And then how can they bear to live under such oppression? I would rather die than live under a dog's command. So
yes.
It's got a lot of imagery coming at you there.
But yeah, so I don't know if this is Grignr's first day on Earth, or if he's just sort of like this newborn babe, like, coming into the world. But he seems very unclear as to the fact that, like, kings might abuse power. Like, the woman's like, oh, it's not as simple as all that. His soldiers are well paid by him. As long as he keeps their wages up, they'll carry out his damned wish. Grignr is sitting there puzzling out, like, well, they're being paid, and so that is why they're following this guy. Like, he's unable to comprehend these basic things about the way that the world has operated since time began.
It's his mode is to drop into a chamber and axe everyone until their gore drops in pools on the floor. He doesn't really get into the politics that much. Which, by the way, is a sentence. His regal purple robe, blending enhancingly with the swirling streams of crimson. And then just a little bit later, where is it? His gore was also, a pool of blood and entrails.
Yeah.
The entrails are in a pool. I guess the blood is the pool, and the entrails are sort of like the bits of meat floating about in the pool.
Yeah, the pool noodles and
yes.
Dead Japanese beetles. But so like as they're going around here, he's just like routinely carrying her around like a sack of potatoes.
Mm-hmm.
Like his left arm is wound dexterously around her slim waist. She's sagging in his encompassing embrace. So he's just like tossing her around as they're making this escape, even though she's the one who's familiar with the hallways and is sort of leading him where they're going.
Yeah, she's pressing secret buttons and stuff like that to get him through.
There's Scooby-Dooey in, torches you tilt and then you press a thing at the same time.
I love there's more sort of Kleinian editorializing about his own character. Carthena cast her eyes downward and ceased any further pursuit towards conversation, an irritating habit in which she had gained an amazing proficiency. Wow, you don't like Carthena very much. She's very irritating when she's casting her eyes down like that.
Right. He's irritated by it the first time it happens, even though she's amazingly proficient at it. Yeah. This was an amazing little typo that, you don't fault them for a lot of them, but sometimes they just work out in a poetic sense. The peasants are showing signs of growing unrest. They complain that they cannot feed their families while burdened with your taxes.
Yes.
Some erotic trampling. They're just unable to make time for that as they're trying to work to pay their taxes. But yeah, the taxes come up again, which was pretty delightful because now they are sort of ducked into the side of the alley, and the prince or king, I guess this is the advisor, is coming down the road, the alley, talking to someone, and he says, "I shall teach those sluts the meaning of humility. Mm-hmm. Order an immediate increase upon their taxes." And that would be just an amazing thing for a like a congressman or something to be overheard hearing.
Yeah, they'll learn the meaning of not liking my taxes by having more taxes. But before that happens, they see a man hanging from a corpse hanging from the wall, and she says, the man hanging from the wall was Doyanta. He had committed the folly of showing affections for me in front of Agaphim. He never meant any harm by his actions. There was never anything between us. So she sees like a flacking corpse. He calls it again a flacking arms held in place.
Right.
She recognizes the half moldered corpse, and then starts crying that he was like hitting on her, and he's like, he was harmless, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
But then he's like, I detect you felt more for this fellow than you wish to let on. Sort of like that rom-com cliche where he's like, no, and like we're there. You know, this is someone from your past that you really loved him, didn't you?
Yeah, and I also love that. I don't know why he wasted time on this, but so Grignr hears those two coming towards him, the king and his advisor or whatever. And she says, "What are you worried about? It's just horses." And she goes, I hear better than you.
Yes.
Those are actually footsteps. Like, you know, that's another irritating habit you have. Well, you keep
exactly.
telling me that footsteps are horses. Stop it.
So yeah, this is Agaphim. Grignr gasps as he observes the bisected face set in its leering death agonies. It was Agaphim. I wasn't sure that was really worth a gasp, since there's been like two people he's encountered.
Right.
He shouldn't be that surprised. But then he smugly grins and says that Sargon should be more careful of his right-hand men. And Sargon has been clarified that it is the deity. So is he talking about the king or the prince who was not named? The prince is the guy who can't leave his chateau without being pelted by vegetables. But then the king is the guy who had been, smoking a blunt in that picture we saw earlier, the rotund fat guy. It's very confusing here.
Yeah, I didn't follow that at all.
Where they're all the same within one.
Do you have that sentence that you just read about Sargon? Do you have the whole thing in front of you?
No.
Oh, okay, because I was going to ask you what his lips were up to, but I found the sentence here. Added Grignr a smug grin upon his lips. So
okay.
We always get a description of what the people's mouths are doing at any particular time. It's very disconcerting.
So the grig is upon his lips? This was like my mom always used to say when you would like be pouting and sticking out your lower lip that a parakeet would come and perch on your lip. Maybe this smug grin is perched on your lip like that. I don't know.
Right. So there's the small fight, right? Mm-hmm. And then, so he is in stagnant green water, grasping a spouting stump that had once been a wrist.
Yeah, that struck me.
Yeah.
Is it because a wrist? Like, sure. What?
Yeah, the wrist still exists. I mean, It's either above or below the cut, right?
Right. So it could have once been a hand. It could have once been a forearm. But like I would say the wrist, if you're looking at it, it stretches a long way.
He didn't really obliterate the area that was once a wrist because he's describing it. He raises the thing that once was a wrist. Very hard to make out.
Right, unless you cut it like right where like your sort of forearm muscle is starting. Like I'd still consider that maybe wrist.
Again, we need someone to tell us, where's the urinary gland? Where does the wrist end and begin, and can you get rid of it by cutting through the wrist?
God. But yeah, so he slews Agaphim, and then they sort of continue out towards the stable. So she was right, I guess. I guess they were both right. Yeah,
there were horses.
Yeah.
Where is that? I didn't write it down, but I have the book. It's like the stable stood above them or something. It did something that a stable can't do. It stood or it came at them or something. I don't know.
And then he sort of takes out the Eye of Argon, raising it towards the sun. He said, "We shall do well with bauble, eh?" Like, wow, he's a secret Canadian revealed at the end of the book. They snuck that one in there.
And now I'd like to issue a challenge. I assume everyone who's listening has read the book or is familiar with it. If you are not, Look into your heart. Be honest about this. I will give you $1 million if you can guess what happens next. Were you as delightfully stunned as I was?
Yeah, you can't fault his imagination, I suppose. Like, I guess you had to assume that, we've never been taught that stealing a cursed religious object is going to result in good things for the person.
But the manner in which this happens, I mean, I don't know, I guess sort of Raiders of the Lost Ark a little bit. Which it preceded by quite a long
Sure, I think it's clear that Raiders of the Lost Ark ripped this off. I think a lot of it isn't over.
Do you have any of the sentences there to...
I have how it starts, because it was very confusing. Cathena gaped at the gem, gasping in a terrified manner. The Eye of Argon. Oh, Kala. At this, the gem gave off a blinding glow, then dribbled through Grignr's fingers in a slimy red ooze. So it seemed like, since "oh, Kala" is not a phrase anyone's ever used or exists, it seems like it says at this the gem gave off a blinding glow. So it seems like she sort of cast a spell or triggered this, which is not the case.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. I didn't know what does Kala mean? Did that come up in the book before?
Do not think so. Did not look it up.
Okay, all right.
But so yeah, it turns into a hideous worm, like a leech, and it pretty much scuttles right over and latches onto him and just really starts like sucking his blood out as fast as could be imagined.
It covers his leg and makes these, and is the gap. It's like a glob of slime, but it's fairly large because it's covering his leg, right?
Yes, and it's only getting bigger as it continues to suck out his lifeblood.
It has a leech-like maw. No indication of whether that was reeking or not. We don't know.
Right, maws becomes the lips of this final section. Maw comes up a lot.
And then he steeled his quivering thews for a battle royal with the thing he knew not how to fight. And now he doesn't describe it very well, but he tries to hack at it, but it goes through it. Mm-hmm. And then it starts to, and this is the sentence that I have.
Yeah.
Then it started to slooze up his leg. Slooze. The hairs upon his nape stood, with an E on the end, stood on end from the slimy feel of the thing's bewley, bulk. Any idea what that means? What is a bewley, bulk?
Full Jabberwocky.
Sloozing up my leg.
It's just maybe it's names of like his blue collar drinking buddies. Sloozing, yeah.
Slooze. The slooze monster. Unbelievable. So that's kind of the end of the book.
Yeah, well, yeah, it ends there, and like for a long time, that was as far as anyone thought it went.
Yeah, everyone was perplexed, and is this a cliffhanger?
Right. But, and then, so like people were reading this it was published in the 70s. People were reading it for fun in the 80s. It wasn't until January of 2005 that the lost ending was discovered, because it was circulating in this sort of, Usenet format, just like a bad MP3 you downloaded. And so that was the only way people did it. So I just could only imagine how excited people were once this came out. It was in the New York Review of Science Fiction, and someone just tracked down the original Ozark Sci-Fi Association Journal number 10.
Wait a minute. Is this right? That I did not, because I was just reading from the source that had it all, and I assumed, and I didn't read the story of the lost ending. I assumed that he was just doing his chapter 7.5, calling it the lost ending.
Oh, no. This is
actually lost? Was it in the original thing?
Yeah. It was in the original text, but a guy went to the Jack Williamson Science Fiction Library at Eastern New Mexico University and found, the actual text. I mean,
wow.
A complete copy of it. And so he transcribed this. It was validated.
Oh my God!
I said it was like I thought the first time that we ever saw like a second video featuring like the services selling people.
Yeah,
it was like they made another one. Like, my God, they're all there. Just getting this new glimpse into this thing you'd treasured.
So for everyone else, they were reading for those many years, the book was ending with the jelly-like mass began to bubble like a vat of boiling tar as quivers passed up and down its entire form.
Yeah, that was it.
The end.
Yeah, it's like the Lady or the Tiger.
Oh my gosh! I didn't realize. I assumed that this was a delightful quirk of Mr. Tice that he.
No,
he did that.
It makes it so much better.
Wow, fantastic! So
yeah,
let's tell him how it ends.
Well, yeah. So he goes. He kills it. He sort of like slays it through with his axe. I didn't cut the exact turn of phrase.
Yeah, I don't know. After it started sloozing up his leg, I couldn't really. But he was losing. He says here, Grignr felt the blackness closing upon his eyes, but held on with the last ebb of his rapidly waning vitality. So it was just like sucking juices from him and growing and almost encompassing, I assumed, his whole barbarian hulk. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely, encompassing multiple thews.
How about his bronze hide? How intact was it?
But yeah, so he manages to kill it. So that was a pretty big, probably anticlimax after 3 decades of waiting. But there's not anticlimaxes in the final text, because there are some absolute gems in this final 8 paragraphs. After he kills the thing, it sort of like disappears into a mist. The Eye of Argon, like it disappears. And Grignr, it says, in that fleeting moment, the grim mystery of life was revealed before Grignr's ensnared gaze. What was it? Was the grim mystery of life revealed? Because he's not going to share it with the rest of us. We all have to slew a maw beast made out of a heretic jewel,
yes,
in order to reveal the grim mystery of life. I accept that.
Yeah, that makes sense. I don't understand what your problem is, because then it's becomes even clearer. The eyeballs glare, which is plural, not possessive. The eyeballs, so there's more than one now. Glare turned to a sudden plea of mercy, a plea for the whole of humanity. So the blob turns to a bunch of eyes and glares at him with a plea of mercy for all of humanity.
And so what is he supposed to do there? Like, let it live for humanity? Or is it like a temptation of the devil, of the Grim Reaper? Like, what is he? What are we meant to take away here, Tice? This is you're biting off more than you can chew. I
think he was going again for, the Tolkien eye of, the eye of Sauron, pleading with, I don't know. That's what I and then he just kind of lost steam on. I think he spent everything on chapter 6 and just went, I don't know, it's an eye. It looks at you, and then it shatters into 1,000 pieces and is gone.
Right. Yeah, we have all seen movies where that happens.
Right.
But yeah, he shakes his head, his shaggy mane, to clear the jumbled fragments of his mind. I thought that was a pretty nice, multiple mixed metaphors there.
Yep, and then, again, we could read the whole chapter, but just the last paragraph, the last 2 sentences. Mounting one of the disgruntled mares. We did not know they were. Why are they so angry? I don't know. I guess they hadn't been ridden for a while. They were just in their little stable. And leading the other, the weary, scarred barbarian, trooted slowly off into the horizon to become a tiny pinpoint in a filtered field of swirling blue mists, leaving the nobles, capitalized, soldiers and peasants, to replace the missing monarch. And then the greatest sign-off you could ever have.
Yes.
Long live the king, 4 exclamation points.
Yes. It's absolute pure poetry. I just wrote, suck it, so we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. We have a new ending of the great American novel.
Oh, go to hell, stately plump Buck Mulligan. You have been bested.
It's so good. Just, it's the long live the king, 4 exclamation marks, is sarcastic, I guess, but multiple misspellings, trooting off, disgruntled mares. Like, it's got a little bit of everything that made the book great.
But then it has one more treat for us.
Yeah.
And it's over. And there's still a treat. And it's by Jim Tice. Great. Winner of the J.T. Rykosh Award for Excellence! Exclamation point. So after that confusing last paragraph, he's the winner of the J.T. Rykosh Award for Excellence.
That reminded me of how the Nick Cage movie Wicker Man ends. So there's the final 10 minutes of that are utter madness, not the bees, all that stuff, and then it ends, fades to black, and the very first credit is for Johnny Ramone. Like the Ramones guitarist who had died 6 months earlier or something like that. Like, yep, cherry on the top of the sundae, man. That is, you couldn't in a million years, if you were making something up, decide that was what you were going to do. And in the notes, like that they're provided sort of on the website in the ebook, the scholar of the Tice scholar says no one has any idea who J.T. Reekosh is, what that means. I mean, they surmise that he is the one who did the illustrations for this, and he wrote a poem called Iyck, but no information about him or what that award could possibly mean has ever surfaced.
Wow. So mystery, all of it is so good. The fact that there's a mystery around it makes it 10 times better.
Yes, it's so fantastic.
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period or an exclamation.
Boy, it's been a while.
I know, yeah. People were upset that they didn't get to hear that last time. I think that was the main. They didn't need to hear the sentences, but it was mostly the song.
Oh, it's an awesome song. We'll have to continue to credit that guy.
Oh, yeah.
We said who it was once before. I just don't remember the name.
Yeah, we can link to it. I mean, he's got that song has like over 1 million YouTube views, which is also very impressive.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah.
That guy can buy and sell us. So.
All right. Well, it's time. Dumb sentence of the week. As we alluded to it before. I don't know if all of mine got burned. I think I got one here. So go ahead with yours.
I purposely, it was in this last section in the Lost Ending, and I did not mention it just so I could use it here, but it was by far the best thing there. So if you were gritting your teeth and disgusted with us that I did not mention this one, it was because I was saving it. So he's killed the worm. It's disappeared. It's, gave its plea for humanity. And then the thing was gone forever. All that remained was a dark red blotch upon the face of the earth, blotching things up.
I don't even think I noticed that.
Oh man! So that's what more can you say? I mean, that's pretty much Tice distilled into one sentence. It's a terrible description that he doubles down on somehow in the same sentence.
Wow, that is fantastic. Mine is I sort of got close to referencing it before, but here's the actual thing. One sentence. Here we go. With an inward surge of his biceps, he harshly jerked the trembling girl to her feet and smothered her salty, wet cheeks with the moldy touch of his decrepit, dull red lips.
Oh, my God.
Again, trying to picture Tice's prose is a very difficult thing, but that one distills a lot of what he does nicely. Because, again, lips feature prominently in his writing.
Every one is a microcosm of the book as a whole. It's really special.
Yes. People sent stuff in, though, right?
Yeah, let's read some emails.
Oh, okay. Mails. Here we go.
We're going to the party. We're going to the game. We're going to the disco. We're going to cruise out, man. We're stealing people's mail. Stealing people's mail. Stealing people's mail.
All right, let's steal some people's mail.
All right, we got some good emails. It's always fun to read them, and because you think of things that I would never have thought of myself. So I am appreciative of everyone who took the time to write in. Sorry we can't reply to them all. But Josh had a good little zinger. He said, did he not realize that argon is an element? Because chemically inert would be high praise for this book.
Nice.
We have Liz who wrote in. This is sort of, we touched on this a lot, that he had his own made-up words. But she said, claims that Tice didn't write a thesaurus, a guide for how to incorrectly apply random adjectives in some standard fantasy fiction.
Oh, I hope she grabbed that URL.
Yeah, no kidding. It'd be nice. She said that the thesaurus could contain sections, what is making love, anatomy of the mysterious female sex, misspelled words, how to create confusion/interest in the reader's mind, voodoo temples for the uninitiated, ovals, uses you never thought of before, and many, many more.
We'd learn what coursing stamina was. I'd be excited about that.
The difference between a steed and a stead. This James says the book really needs a prog rock theme song, which I think we can all agree that nothing deserves one more than this book. His vote is for Epitaph by King Crimson. It fits completely. It has just the right amount of overwrought misery. Then this is from Ross. Ross is another Just Like Me guy who lost on Jeopardy. He lost somewhat more recently than me.
Oh, a brother in loss. Yeah.
But he says that You guys inspired me and my wife to approach a friend about starting a podcast together, a book club podcast, one that owes a lot to 372 pages. The name is The Book Club Was Better. Much like 372 pages, we take a book, read it in chunks, and discuss each section week by week. Our hook is we only read the crap that's getting turned into movies. It's not to say we're reading stuff as bad as what you guys read, but we've been doing it for a few months now and about to start our 5th book, The Girl in the Spider's Web by David, not Stieg Larsson, Lagerkrantz. I guess they're just keeping that series going after the author died. Oh. It's not great, but we're having a ton of fun. So if you like this stuff, you maybe want to check out The Book Club Was Better, because it sounds like a fun idea too.
Oh, that's great.
And then this is where what I alluded to during the podcast where Thomas wrote in and he submitted fanfic, but we can't do any fanfic because there's none to guess at this time. But he says that so Robert E. Howard is, I guess, the guy who invented Conan the Barbarian, which I guess was probably pulp novels before the movies.
Yeah, I think I steered you to an article, maybe we can link to that, where the guy theorizes that that's exactly the author he was reading. I think Kull is one of them, like Kull the Conqueror or something.
Oh, okay. When I read that first thing in the morning and I thought it said Krull, and I'm like, Krull was a book? Like, how do we miss that? All right, that makes sense. But yeah, so he took these and I guess probably replaced the characters' names with Grignr, so you can see where the influence comes from. I'll just read a couple of them. As the monstrous shape with its leprous gray body and the features of a carven, unhuman idol loomed over him, Grignr struck as a wounded tiger strikes, with every ounce of thew and fury behind the blow. That stroke would have sheared a human body asunder, but the bones of the servant of Bityakin were like tempered steel. Yet even tempered steel could not wholly have withstood that furious stroke. Ribs and shoulder bone parted, and blood sprouted from the great gash.
Oh, wow. That is spot on. That's what he was reading. The mystery is solved.
Yeah. So, just okay, here's another one. This was the monstrosity Zogar Sag had summoned out of the forest. Grignr no longer doubted the actuality of the shaman's magic. Only the black arts could establish a domination over that tiny brain, mighty thewed monster. Like a whisper at the back of his consciousness rose the vague memory of the name of an ancient god of darkness and primordial fear, to whom once both men and beasts bowed and whose children, men whispered, still lurked in dark corners of the world. So, it's sort of, it makes it a little less special, but I think it's sort of like when you feed something into Google Translate it to another language, a third one, then translate it back to the original one. That's sort of what you've got if you took these Conan stories.
Yeah, but let's remember, not even, Mozart was derivative. Mozart didn't plow any new ground. He was not, he was not Beethoven. Beethoven was inventing all the time and, but it's okay to be a Mozart, Jim Tice. You're fine.
Jim Tice, as good as Mozart. You heard it here first, folks, from Mike Nelson. So, that's our emails. And I guess that probably wraps it up. What's your final impression of the Eye of Argon? Do you wish it went on a little longer?
Yeah, it is a little short. I mean, it's like a good comedy, right? Leave them wanting more.
I suppose, yeah.
I wanted a little more dialogue between Carthena and him. I wanted to see, they're riding off. They become a tiny speck, right? Right. Which I assume means that they actually get smaller. I don't know. But yeah, I like how he's holding the camera pose. Like they become a tiny speck, meaning I'm not going to follow them. I'm just standing back here. But yeah, I want to see what their life was like. Their domestic situation would obviously be hilarious.
Yeah, well, it's perhaps a long-lost sequel will turn up at some point in time. I would mostly want to know more about the guy, I guess. Like, I'd just be more curious about his day-to-day life and sort of how he actually, took this to heart. Like, I'm sure he was sort of like, I was 16, like, who cares? But, just maybe talk to some of his buddies or anything like that. Just get a little better picture of what his life was like. Because, like we said, it would be great if we turned out that he was, the league leading district quarterback at his high school or something like that.
Yeah, there is a John Dacre like mystery around him that I wish could be filled in a little bit, but maybe the mystery is needed to keep this thing alive.
So I guess that'll do it. But if you have any more thoughts about the Eye of Argon, send them in. Maybe we can do a little wrap up show if there's any more emails, something like that. But I guess it's time to move on to something else.
Let's flack on to something different.
Yeah.
And what are we doing?
That's a good question. I guess we'll talk about that. But the main question I have is should we find something else that's like this, or go back in the direction of something that was intended to be good for a mass audience, and that's the not a problem. But maybe we can continue to do both. I think it's a fun balance to find these crazy, like Birdemic-y kind of gems in along with the books that normal people might have actually heard of and read.
Right, yeah, we got a lot of things to balance. Like, of course, we're not going to do a slog, some giant, a trilogy of.
Right.
We're probably going to keep it a little tidier than that, but honestly, yeah, we haven't thought about it much, so we got a lot of thinking to do. So I guess suggestions are welcome, right?
Yeah. Send in suggestions, and we have asked for them before, and so I've got some of those noted. But it won't be long. We'll hopefully be back with something pretty quick.
And you know what? I think just as a treat to the audience, instead of theme songing our way out, I would like to replay the sentence song. So just a little gift for everyone out there. And thanks for listening, and thanks again to our Patreon people. This has been 372 pages we'll never get back.
Long live the king!
A sentence begins with a capital letter. A capital letter is a letter that's big. A capital letter is not a small letter. A capital letter is big, big, big. A sentence ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. A sentence always ends with a period, or an exclamation, or a question mark. So, my dog is great.